Your brain is a survival machine that thrives on labels. When you meet someone new, you instinctively look for a box to put them in. You look for their job, their social status, and their political leanings. You do this to feel safe in a world of potential predators. But what happens when you meet someone who fits no category? Someone whose motives remain invisible and whose character refuses to be defined by your metrics. That person triggers an ancient, primal alarm in your amygdala. By the end of this deep dive, you will understand why your fear is correct. The person you cannot categorize is the only one you cannot predict. And what you cannot predict, you can never truly hope to control. You believe that being open-minded is a sign of intelligence and growth. You think that withholding judgment is a virtue in modern civil society. In reality, your brain views a lack of judgment as a lethal threat. It is a biological failure to identify a potential danger in time. The comfort you feel when you label someone is actually a trap. It gives you a false sense of security that stops you from watching. When you categorize a person, you stop seeing their actual behavior. You start seeing the caricature that your brain has pre-recorded for that label. This is the cognitive shortcut that allows you to operate in groups. It is a neurological loop designed to save time and mental energy. Evolutionary psychology tells us that our ancestors survived by making quick calls. They had to know instantly if someone was a friend or foe. The person who defies these categories is disrupting your survival hardware. They are creating a glitch in the software of your primal brain. Because they offer no clear data, your brain begins to spin. It works overtime to fill the void with your own deepest insecurities. Social engineering experts know that the best disguise is total ambiguity. If they don't fit a pattern, they cannot be countered or stopped. You think you are being enlightened by not judging them quickly, but you are actually just lowering your guard for a calculated strike. Relatable scenarios happen at every party or every professional meeting. There is always one person who listens but reveals absolutely nothing significant. They don't share their opinions, their history, or their personal preferences. They remain a blank screen while you project your life onto them. While you are busy trying to be understood, they are studying you. They are gathering the very categories you are so eager to project. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the parts of ourselves we hide. The uncategorized person is a living shadow walking through your brightly lit room. You cannot find their edges. So, you cannot find their weaknesses. This lack of information creates a massive power vacuum in the interaction. Your brain hates this vacuum more than it hates an actual enemy. An enemy can be fought, a void can only be feared indefinitely. This is the only place where we strip away the comfort. We reveal the cold, evolutionary mechanics that govern your every social interaction. If you are ready to stop living in the dark, join us. Decide to join those who seek the uncomfortable truth and click subscribe. Subscribe now to witness the mechanics of human nature in detail. It is the only way to see what is really happening behind. But as your brain struggles to label the person before you, something happens. Your heart rate begins to climb without any obvious external trigger. The physical reaction to the unknown is not just a mental exercise. It is a deep, biological preparation for a battle that hasn't started. In the next layer, we will look at the neurological panic. You will see how your body reacts to the person without a label. Your brain is constantly scanning for patterns to ensure your physical safety. It functions like a sophisticated radar system that requires clear signatures to operate. When you encounter someone you cannot categorize, the radar returns a blank. This lack of data is interpreted by the brain as a potential predator. The amygdala begins to fire rapidly, sending signals to your entire nervous system. You feel a tightness in your chest or a sudden, unexplained coldness. This is not a conscious thought, but a deep, ancestral biological response. Your body is preparing for a conflict that your mind cannot yet see. In behavioral science, we call this the uncanny valley of human social interaction. You recognize the human shape, but the social soul remains entirely hidden. The categorized person is safe because their behavior is confined by their label. A doctor or a clerk has a predictable script to follow. The uncategorized person has no script, which means they have no limits. They could be anyone, and they could do literally anything at any time. This unpredictability creates a state of high-intensity neurological stress in your brain. You are forced to remain in a state of hyper-vigilance and observation. While you are in this state, your cognitive resources are being drained. You are losing the ability to think clearly or to act strategically yourself. The uncategorized person, however, remains perfectly calm and in total control. They are the ones causing the stress, but they are not feeling it. They understand that by remaining a mystery, they are draining your biological battery. They are winning a battle of attrition without even making a move. Think of a person who enters a room and stays perfectly still. They don't smile, they don't frown, and they don't offer any social cues. Every person in that room will eventually look at them with suspicion. The lack of a social label acts like a magnetic pull for anxiety. Evolutionary psychology suggests this is because our ancestors feared the lone wolf. A human without a clear tribe or role was a wild variable. That wild variable could bring disease, betrayal, or a direct physical threat. We are the descendants of the people who feared the unlabeled stranger. The people who weren't afraid did not live long enough to pass on. Your fear is a gift from your ancestors, warning you to stay away. But in the modern world, we try to suppress this vital survival signal. We tell ourselves we are being irrational or even being judgmental and rude. This suppression of instinct is exactly what the uncategorized person wants. They want you to ignore your gut so they can move closer. They use your desire to be polite as a cloak for their intentions. While you wrestle with your unease, they are mapping your psychological soft spots. They see your pupils dilate and they hear the slight tremor in your voice. They are reading your biological confession while they remain a closed book. Neurological loops of fear begin to feed on themselves the longer they stay. You become desperate for them to say anything just to provide a clue. But they remain silent, letting your own biology do the work of intimidation. You are being conquered by your own nervous system in real time. You realize that the more you try to categorize them, the more you fail. Your brain is hitting a brick wall made of absolute, cold silence. This is the moment where most people make a fatal social mistake. They start talking just to break the tension and reveal their own hand. But there is a reason why your body is telling you to run. It is because the lack of a label is often a mask. In the next layer, we will look at the architecture of the mask. You will see how the void is used as a tactical mirror. The person who refuses to be categorized is not simply being private or shy. They are utilizing the void of their identity as a tactical psychological mirror. When you cannot find a label for someone, you naturally begin to fill their silence. You project your own values, your own fears, and your own history. This is a fundamental principle of social engineering that relies on your cognitive bias. You assume they are like you, or you assume they are your opposite. In both cases, you are providing the uncategorized person with a perfect psychological profile. You are telling them exactly who you think you are dealing with. They do not correct your assumptions because those assumptions are their greatest tactical advantage. They let you believe whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. If you are a person who values intellect, you will project intelligence onto them. If you are fearful, you will project a quiet, brewing hidden malice. The uncategorized person sits back and watches you build a version of them. They are essentially letting you design the very weapon that they will use. This behavior is a high-level application of behavioral science used by elite social manipulators. They know that the most effective lie is the one you tell yourself. By providing no data, they force you to rely on your own neurological loops. You fall back on your most repetitive and predictable ways of thinking and judging. They are essentially running a diagnostic test on your mind without your active consent. They are seeing how you react to ambiguity and where you seek refuge. In relatable scenarios, think of the person at a high-stakes business negotiation. They don't reveal their budget, their timeline, or their personal feelings about the deal. The other side, desperate to close the gap, begins to offer concessions and information. They are bidding against themselves because the silent party provides no clear baseline. This is human nature at its most vulnerable, exposed by the absence of a label. We are so used to the social exchange that we panic when it stops. We feel an intense pressure to give something up just to get a reaction. The uncategorized person knows this pressure will eventually make you crack and reveal truth. They are not interested in a fair exchange of identities or social information. They are interested in maintaining the information asymmetry that keeps them in total control. Evolutionary psychology tells us that the person who knows the most wins. By remaining a mystery, they ensure that you will always know the least. They are the black box in the social system that absorbs all input. They process your words, your body language, and your desperation while giving nothing back. This creates a psychological power dynamic that is almost impossible to overturn or fix. You are fighting a ghost while they are fighting a person of flesh. You cannot find their pressure points if you do not know what they value. You cannot threaten them if you do not know what they truly fear. They remain untouchable because they have no public surface area for you to grab. They have retracted all their hooks, leaving you with nothing to hold on to. While you are sweating under the heat of the unknown, they are cool. Their internal temperature is steady because they are not the ones being measured. The realization that you are being studied should be the first sign of danger, but your brain is too busy trying to be liked to notice the threat. You are performing for a judge who has not yet revealed the legal rules. You are pleading your case to someone who hasn't even accused you of anything. This is the hidden trap of the uncategorized person in your daily life. They turn your own need for social harmony into a cage for your mind. But the danger goes far deeper than just being studied or being judged. The void they project is eventually going to swallow your entire sense of self. In the next layer, we will look at the collapse of social reality. You will see how they use your labels to dismantle your very foundation. When you cannot categorize someone, the social contract that governs your life begins to dissolve. You rely on categories to dictate how you should speak, act, and even think in someone's presence. Without these labels, you lose your internal compass for behavior and social direction. This leads to a state of profound psychological disorientation that is deeply unsettling and cold. The person you cannot categorize is essentially pulling the rug out from under your feet. They are forcing you to stand on a foundation of pure, unmapped and dark uncertainty. This state of disorientation makes you highly suggestible and easy to lead. Your brain is looking for any anchor to stop the feeling of drifting in space. The uncategorized person will eventually provide that anchor, but only on their terms. They will wait until you are desperate enough to accept any version of reality. This is a form of social engineering that targets your basic need for environmental structure. They break down your current structures by refusing to participate in your social games. While you are struggling to find your footing, they are observing your collapse. They see the moment your confidence turns into a plea for some form of direction. This is not a mistake or a personality quirk of a quiet person. It is a biological survival strategy that allows the few to dominate the many easily. By staying outside of the hierarchy, they can observe the hierarchy from a distance. They see the flaws in the system that you are too busy maintaining yourself. Leon Festinger's theory of social comparison suggests we need others to evaluate ourselves. If the other person provides no data, your self-evaluation becomes a chaotic and messy process. You start to doubt your own status because you cannot measure it against them. You feel small because they refuse to tell you how big you actually are. In real-world scenarios, this is the stranger who enters a social circle and remains. They don't seek to belong, so they cannot be excluded by the group's rules. The group usually reacts with a mixture of forced inclusion and rising collective anxiety. They try to break the person to make them fit into a known role, but the uncategorized person remains unbreakable because they have no social ego to bruise. They have detached their identity from the opinions of the room entirely and completely. This detachment is a neurological loop that they have mastered through cold, hard discipline. They have trained their brain to ignore the social signals that keep you enslaved. They are not triggered by your insults, and they are not moved by your praise. This makes them a psychological fortress that you have no hope of ever breaching. Evolutionary psychology suggests that those who could ignore social pressure were the most dangerous. They were the ones capable of the most cold-blooded and calculated tribal betrayals. Your fear is the brain's way of identifying a person who lacks social empathy. It is the realization that they are not bound by the same moral codes. If they don't care about their category, they don't care about the consequences of action. They are operating in a world of pure utility while you live in sentiment. They see your emotions as a biological tax that you are forced to pay daily. They have exempted themselves from that tax, leaving them with a massive surplus of power. You are realizing that your labels were never about the other person at all. They were a security blanket that you used to hide from the harsh truth. The truth is that we are all unpredictable animals beneath the thin veneer of society. The uncategorized person is simply the one who has stopped pretending for your comfort. They have embraced the chaos that you are trying so desperately to organize and avoid. And because they have embraced it, they are the ones who truly own it. But there is a final stage to this psychological and biological takeover of your mind. It is the moment you realize that you are becoming their shadow. In the final layer, we will look at the quiet surrender of the self. You will see what happens when the mystery finally decides to speak to you. The final realization is that your brain's fear of the uncategorized person is not a glitch. It is the correct response to a force that has already moved past you. While you were busy trying to label them, they were successfully deconstructing the very foundation of your social identity. They have watched you struggle to find an anchor, and they have watched you fail. The uncategorized person is the ultimate predator because they do not seek to change you or to fight you. They simply wait for your own internal systems to collapse under the weight of your uncertainty. You are now in a state of psychological surrender where you crave any word or gesture from them. You have been broken by the silence, and you are ready to accept their reality. This is the ultimate goal of the silent strategist, to become the only source of truth in a room full of noise. They have waited for you to exhaust your scripts and your masks until nothing is left. They look at you not with hatred or with love, but with the cold detachment of a scientist. You are a biological experiment that has reached its inevitable and predictable conclusion. Behavioral science shows that we eventually bond with the things that cause us the most tension. You are now neurologically tied to the person you feared the most because they are your only mystery. They have become the center of your world without ever asking for your attention or your time. They own your thoughts because you cannot stop trying to solve the riddle of their existence. The irony is that there may be no riddle to solve at all. They may simply be a mirror. They are the void that reflects the absolute nothingness of your own public performances. Evolutionary psychology suggests that the most successful organisms are those that remain hidden until the strike. You are now standing in the path of a strike that you cannot even see coming. They have won because they understand that human nature is fundamentally a game of information control. By giving you nothing, they have taken everything you have to offer in exchange for peace. You realize now that the categories you use to define others are actually the bars of your own cage. The uncategorized person is free because they refuse to acknowledge the existence of the bars. They are not interested in being a part of your tribe, your hierarchy, or your digital world. They are the outliers who survive the collapse of every system because they never joined one. You feel a deep sense of loss, not for them, but for the version of yourself that felt safe. That person is gone, replaced by a hollow awareness of your own extreme vulnerability. The silent person finally speaks, and their voice sounds like the echo of your own deepest and darkest thoughts. They tell you exactly what you have been trying to hide from yourself for years. They don't do this to help you or to heal you. They do it to demonstrate their total and absolute power. They have read your soul like a book that you left open on a crowded table. This is the end of the social game as you know it, where the labels have all been burned away. You are left standing in the cold, naked reality of your own biological and primal instincts. The person you could uncategorize is the only one who truly knows who you are at your core. They are the master of your hidden self, the one you are too afraid to look at. As you walk away, you will feel the urge to tell someone about this experience to make it real. But you will find that you have no words to describe the person who left no trace. They have remained a ghost in your machine, a glitch that you can never quite repair or explain. You will look for them in every crowd, but they will never be found again. Perhaps the reason you fear the uncategorized is that they represent the freedom you threw away. They are the truth that you are not ready to hear about your own fragile and desperate nature. Would you like me to analyze the specific neurological loops that keep you addicted to social validation?